Our guest for today's podcast is a true impact player within the WNBA landscape. Starting her journey in California's Orange County, she was a standout at the academic and athletic powerhouse of modern-day high school, where she caught the attention of arguably the greatest collegiate sports program in the country, UConn basketball, and its general, Coach Geno Auriemma. During her tenure at UConn, she won an NCAA championship, most outstanding player at the 2017 AAC tournament, and became a three-time AP All-American. Shortly after college, she would be drafted 4th overall by the Chicago Sky in the 2019 WNBA Draft and has since established herself as a key piece to the success of any organization she has played for. Please welcome to the show, Katie Lou Samuelson.
We're excited to have you on. This is the first official episode we dropped a couple weeks ago. My story, the story of Run Your Own Race, as you know, very much so. But today we really want to tap into your story. We want to talk about everything from your childhood, growing up with two older sisters, obviously your dad, your mom's influence on you guys playing basketball. And then everyone knows the Katie Lou Samuelson Gatorade Player of the Year, best women's basketball player coming out of high school, UConn sensation, and obviously your journey through the WNBA. But let's hear it from you yourself. I think this is exactly what this podcast is about. It's owning our story, really showing each and every, little girl, every person who's followed you up to this point, who thinks they know you. Let's really peel back these layers and get to know you a little bit better. So thank you for coming on the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And so what we want to do to start, obviously, I see you have the Run Your Own Race shirt on. I have the Run Your Own Race shirt, the hat. Malad's got his hat on. In your own words, can you tell us when you hear Run Your Own Race, what does it mean to you? And if you had to define it in your own words and how you apply it to your life, what would Run Your Own Race mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's very much about staying present in your own moment and owning your journey individually. For me, I've had quite a roller coaster of a career. I know you have as well. We've kind of both been there for each other on this journey, but knowing that, each individual moment leads you to where you're supposed to be. And you can't get caught up in what you expected to happen or what other people are doing. You really just got to hone in and focus on the present and what, you have one step ahead of you.
Fire. Malad, what do you think?
Love it. I think it means something to each person. But hearing every person tell their perspective on what that saying means, what the brand means to them, it's unique every time. It's special every time.
No, facts. No, that's big time. And you're right. We've been there for each other. This is super special for me. Malad, this is our first time actually having someone on to hear their perspective. We've talked about it constantly over and over again as we kind of go through this journey and, me trying to crack the league. But you were the 4th overall pick back in 2019, the same year that I went undrafted. So it's really cool, obviously, being up close and personal on your journey, and likewise you to me. So super special. Well, let's tap into the youth of Katie Lou Samuelson. Let's talk about the upbringing. So let's go from there.
Yeah, let's do that. Katie Lou, one of the things that we always think about is, the humble beginnings, regardless of wherever somebody starts, they are always humble beginnings. What was it like growing up in the OC? What's the basketball presence there? What was it like growing up in the household you were in?
Yeah, so both my parents, my dad played college basketball and then played professionally in England, and my mom played professional netball in England, which is a whole different sport, but kind of similar. So it's kind of been around since we were younger, and I never wanted to play at all. I just wanted to be on the sideline. I actually wanted to be a cheerleader and a gymnast, which my parents quickly were like, that's just not going to happen. So get that out of your brain because you're going to be taller than everyone around you. So, I kind of just grew up following my sisters, going to their games, going to their practices, always on the sideline, just messing around, doing little stuff here and there. And I feel like for me, my parents did a good job of just like waiting till I wanted to get out there and join them. And, that happened to be at a young age. I think when I was 6 or 7, I was playing on one of Carly's little AAU teams and trying to do whatever I could, even though I was the smallest and weakest and slowest. But that kind of prepared me to get to, a higher level once I was able to be older. We all really, embraced kind of the fact that we were in the same path. Like, I think that's very, rare, really fortunate. All three of their daughters wanted to play basketball. And so we could kind of all go to the gym together, all do our workouts together. And my dad taught each and every one of us how to shoot. So it's been really a family thing from the get-go.
Yeah. Do you remember the first moment where you were like, I actually love this. I could do this beyond just like this one summer or this one season?
I can't remember like super young, but I remember when I was in like 7th grade or something. We played for a local club team here called Cal Swish, and my oldest sister was a sophomore, junior in high school at the time. Carly was probably a freshman, and that head club coach of that team like came up and told me, it was like, oh yeah, like, you can be the best out of your sisters, right? And it was right there where I was like, oh, let's go. Like, that's all I want to do. I just want to beat them at everything. Because they had always, picked on me, beat up on me when I was younger. I was 4 years younger than my oldest sister. So she was always bigger, stronger. And when we'd play, like, they were better than me. And so once he told me that, it was like, oh, it's go time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dope. So between your three sisters, you and your two sisters, obviously you and Carly played professional basketball. You guys obviously had an opportunity to play together, both in the WNBA as well as overseas. Who's the best shooter? Because I've been around you guys. I haven't seen Bonnie too much, but I've heard stories. They say Bonnie might be the best shooter.
Maybe. I don't know. I always like to be like, oh, I'm the best shooter. That's how I used to kind of always say it. I can't say for sure if Bonnie is or not, but as you know, Carly can shoot the ball. Like, she's like ridiculously out of this world when it comes to like hitting shots, hitting deep threes, like being that spot up shooter. Like, I think she's got it, honestly. The exact, like, you need a 3, she will hit it no matter what.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I'll literally be out in LA, obviously working out with you guys. Malad, it's unbelievable. Like, obviously, it's like, I think there's a lot of guys out there that just disrespect. They watch women's basketball, like, oh, and we hear it, if someone's, going on a date or you're out, like, oh, you play basketball, like, I could beat you 1-on-1. Like, I literally am in these workouts with Katie Lou, with Carly. They're childhood trainers. And, when it comes to shooting competitions, and I pride myself on shooting, like, I'm a shooter. Like, I may not even come in second when it comes to these two. So it's crazy.
That's
and
crazy.
I think Bonnie could be even better than that is unbelievable to me. So, like, I don't even know. Do you give that to, like, who do you give props to? Obviously, who taught Bonnie, and then who learned from her? Like, did a lot of that come from Father John? And that's what they call, their dad. But, tell us your dad's impact on all of you and your sisters.
Yeah, I think he really kind of, he taught each of us how to shoot, but it's interesting because we all learn the same thing, but we all kind of shoot a little bit differently. Like, our forms are all different. But he really like embraced like letting each of us be our own individual and doing what works for each of us. So I'd have to give that to him, basically, like full credit of getting us to be at that point, because he really, from a young age instilled like just doing basic like in-play shooting. I think it probably wasn't until I was in middle school that I started doing actual moves or like working on finishes, things like that. And, that's something that I feel like is really underrated now. Like, people don't just want to shoot in-play shots. It is boring. I was fed up a lot of times doing it, but it made us into the shooters we are today.
Right.
Yeah. Two I guess like two really important points in your life, right? Like your household, right? and then where you ended up going to high school, right, at Mater D. Two, I can imagine that the household is incredibly competitive, and then Mater D being a place that has produced so many professional athletes. What's it like, did the household prepare you for that environment? Where everybody kind of is trying to make it to the league, regardless of what sport they play. Everybody's trying to make it somewhere, whether it's through the academic path or through the athletic path. Did the house kind of prepare you for that?
Yeah, for sure. I think, my oldest sister actually went to a different high school. And then I think I wanted to really, go to Mater Dei and embrace that whole experience. And they play on a national level, and, they've known for creating great basketball players. Like their head coach, Kevin Kiernan, has been coaching there a long time. He's actually a really incredible coach, and really helps with my development as a player from a young age. And going there was tough, but it definitely led to me being able to be recruited and be seen by so many people, get national recognition. I think I wouldn't have won those high school player of the year awards without going to Mater Dei. That just is kind of part of it. Like, you get seen, you get to play against the best competition, you're playing in those tough tournaments. So it was definitely really good for me to be there, to expand my game, and know that I could do this for a long time.
Yeah. I think here's a good point to just really kind of hone in on the conversation, because I think in this episode specifically, the audience that will be listening to this story, and we talk about it a lot, is why do you play? Who do you play for? And one thing that we talk about is there's probably a little girl out here, who's on YouTube watching your highlights you don't even know about, and they're watching Sue Bird's final season and witnessing greatness, right? But these kids are coming up, and they're aspiring to be the next you, the next her, right? So when we talk about, going to Mater Dei, we talk about these decisions, being in the gym on holidays. You would tell me it got to a point to where, and your mom would tell me these stories sometimes, where you were like, hey, Dad, are we going to the gym? And so you had, at some point, you must have had this fire inside you that you loved the game enough to want to just take control of that process. And obviously you have the people in your life to help you, to help navigate, to help guide, correct, and kind of facilitate that growth. But it's kind of a two-part question. Where did you find that love at what point? And then how did you maintain that through the ups and downs, whether that's transferring in people from that school, talking down on your family, talking down on your name, these real life situations that we all come across. And then secondly, if you hadn't gone to a Mater Dei, because not everyone's able to, there may be a kid, boy or girl, who, the powerhouse is down the street, but they're at the smaller school and they may not get the recognition. How do you balance the two, where it's working extremely hard, and then based on your opportunity set, continuing to, continue in your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think for me, I don't know, there was just something that I really did enjoy about basketball from a younger age. And maybe it was at the time, I was always I liked being the younger player playing up, and oh, she's only 14. Right. I really didn't embrace that part of it of trying to be the best at a younger age. And then for me, just focusing on basketball. Like you said, there's a lot of other stuff going around. And I feel in high school and stuff, for kids, there's a lot of parents, there's people with club teams, there's so much going on. And I was able to be in a position where I could get in the gym every single day. I could really focus on only the playing part. I didn't have to focus or worry about that outside stuff. So that made it easier for me. And my family allowed me to, just focus on basketball. Getting in the gym was something I wanted to do at that point. I wanted to shoot every day. It was just, activity at that point. It wasn't oh, I have to do this. It was something I really did want to do. And then it's funny because I say Mater Dei for me was great, but my oldest sister went to our local school, and she was still a McDonald's All-American her senior year. So there's definitely different avenues. And I think club basketball is a huge thing, especially for, women's basketball when you're younger and playing in those club tournaments, because you get to travel, you get to play with other people, you get to be seen by coaches that, kind of can help you get to the next level.
Oh, I think we just heard our first real run your own race where you have two paths that are completely different. You and your sister, powerhouse Mater Dei, local high school, and you have two McDonald's All-Americans, right? You have someone who was, I think, holding the 3-point record or something like that at Stanford, the percentage or free throw percentage. You with all your accolades, you're both McDonald's All-Americans. And then you did mention the AAU scene or the travel ball scene in women's basketball, girls basketball specifically, and the importance of that. So I think the next natural question for me is, when are we creating our AAU team?
I don't know, soon, hopefully.
Hopefully soon.
We need to.
Oh, for real. Malad, write that down. We're gonna make the comments circulate through, your people, or my people talk to your people, we'll make it happen.
It's already noted. Not to transition too far off of like Mater D and like the high school experience. What about that experience kind of like got you ready for college?
I want to say it got me ready for college, but nothing really got me ready for UConn. Like as a basketball player, yes, and what I was able to do, I could shoot very well. I knew what I was capable of. But when you get to UConn, it's a whole different experience. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is I got there, and I've always been, the hardest worker on all of my teams. Like growing up, I'm always in the gym. Like I was always known for that. And then I get to UConn, and within like 3 weeks, Coach Auriemma tells me I'm the laziest player he's ever had in this program. And yes, I'm sure some of it is exaggerated. Like I'm in the gym extra, I'm doing all this extra stuff. But it was just the fact that I wasn't, in my head, I thought I was playing as hard as I could play. And I just didn't know how to tap into that like next level of, oh no, you can actually play harder consistently. And I had never been put in that situation. I've never been pushed that hard before. And so in my head, I was like, oh, I can't do it. Haven't ever needed to get to this level. And it took a little while for me to like fully buy into that and get to that. So that was a shock, being told I was the laziest player he's ever coached.
Did that come from just being better than everyone in high school? Like, was it too easy? Did people not push you? Like, what really changed? Like, how was it that he was the first person to say that?
No, people definitely pushed me. I worked hard. Like, to be honest, he's full of it for saying that. There's no way. But, but yeah, I don't know. It was like high school was easier for me. And looking back, like I really think about, I could have even dominated more if I had been able to tap into that next level. But when you don't know, you don't know. And so, I really tried to like buy into the full and playing hard, full experience of UConn. And I think that's what moved me to the next level as a player. Because in high school, like a lot of people, if you are one of the better players, you can rely on like you're taller than almost everyone you're playing. Like you're more athletic. Like, there's such a range of athletes in high school. So for me, I was physically gifted compared to a lot of people I was playing. And that's why it was easier. I didn't necessarily need to push myself that hard. And then when you get to college, you're playing against people who are just as strong as you, just as big as you, just as fast as you. And then even more so to the next level at the professional level. It's like each level gets like you've met your match. So you have to do something to kind of push yourself ahead of that.
Thanks.
What do you think it was that like triggered that mental breakthrough to get you to the next level at UConn, right? Like partially it's physical, right? Like you get in better shape, your conditioning is better. But what is it about the mind game that pushed you and accelerated you into that next stratosphere?
Yeah, I think my freshman year was definitely hard. Me trying to like figure out what I needed to do to play better, to do this, to like, why am I always getting in trouble? Why am I messing up on film? Like, I didn't want to let people down. And then it was probably my sophomore year when I realized that when it comes to Coach Auriemma, you will never win. So once I like accepted that fact of like trying to not like, oh, I'm gonna outsmart him, I'm gonna do this, because there was a drill where, you know, we're playing in practice and I'm not shooting great, and he's just on the sidelines like, oh, she's done, she's not gonna make a shot the rest of the day, like, don't worry, like Kaylee's done, like, don't even worry about her, she's not gonna make a shot. So I'm like screw you, like, watch this. Like, so we do a shooting drill and I make every single shot. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, see, like, I'm gonna make a shot. And then it was like 30 seconds later, I'm like, he knew that this was gonna happen. So like, if I miss every shot, he's right. But when I make every shot, he's also right. So
there's no
at that point, I was like, you know, just do it for you. Like, there's nothing else that's gonna happen here.
I feel like if I can put myself in that gym, he's probably standing next to CD, he's the assistant coach. You make every shot. He just looks, he winks at her, smirks, because he already knew what he was doing.
Exactly. He knows exactly. He's the best chess player ever. You're never going to get ahead of him.
That's amazing. Well, obviously that freshman year, national champion. And then obviously, I think you guys are on that crazy winning streak. I mean, I obviously didn't know you at the time, but I knew of you and of UConn and the greatness that is Geno Auriemma and all of that. So like, talk us through just a little bit how special that championship run was. You know, obviously playing with arguably one of the best players, women's basketball players in general ever. And then just kind of, you know, through the ups and downs, kind of the rest of the career, whether it's injury related, you know, not, you know, reaching expectations because UConn is the gold standard. Kind of just talk about that experience.
Yeah. I mean, my freshman year was a very cool experience. You know, it was Stewie's senior year. Breanna, Stewart, Mariah Jefferson, Morgan Tuck were on a back-to-back national championship run. And so then that fourth year was going to be 4 championships. And I mean, Stewie literally said that when she was coming into college that she wanted to win 4 national championships. So that senior year was like, okay, well, this is it. Like, and I think we destroyed every team we played. Like, not even gonna lie. Like, I think even the national championship game we killed. And it was like just a whole different level of like seeing this like rampage and being a part of it. And, you know, it was so cool as a younger player to see that and learn from that. But then, like you said, that you're like, oh, this is going to be every year. And that's not the case. Like, that's not how it was going to be. So after that, you know, we had that run, the 111 game win streak or whatever it was, in every single game of my sophomore season. You know, they're like, oh, this is win 94. This is win 95. How do you feel? The same as win 1, because I wasn't even here for win 1. So I don't know why we're talking about this streak. So like that whole season, we had that HBO special following us. We had a whole HBO show dedicated to our team coming out weekly as the season's going on. So that season was a lot happening. And then clearly at the end of that season was the big upset. And it was funny because that whole season was a struggle. Like, we were winning, but it was like such a grind to get to that moment. But people only see like the 100 wins, the 102 wins, like, here it is. But that team, we really like fought hard to get to that moment. And so, you know, it was really devastating when we didn't win, and kind of, you know, just bummed because you're that team that, oh, they won 4 in a row. Like, here you are. But then it was finally like that weight was off of us. And the next 2 years was about like being the best versions of ourselves. And unfortunately, we still didn't at the end of the year pull that out. But those 2, junior year and senior year, were a lot better than that sophomore year was a rough time to be a part of.
Is there anything about that experience? Like, what is it about that specific experience of that sophomore year that you think was a positive? that you look back and you're like, man, as painful as it was, I'm glad I went through it?
Well, I mean, if you look at our team, like we lost 3 All-Americans, the number 1 pick, the number 2 pick, and the number 3 pick in the draft. They literally got drafted 1, 2, 3, our seniors. So we lost those 3 players, and then you have me and Nafisa, who are sophomores, didn't do anything the first year, are coming in, like have a whole new role. Like me, Gabby, and Nafisa, like throughout that freshman year, like rotated through that 5th starting spot. Like we weren't even starters consistently. And so then you get to the next year, us plus Kia Nurse, and we're like really trying to, find our way. And I think the 4 of us and our point guard Sanaya Chong, even, we really like stepped up and actually killed it. Like we didn't lose until that last game. And so, as sophomores, Nafisa and I really had like a huge jump from a freshman year to a sophomore year, like points, playing time, like everything. Like I would say we really killed it in terms of like, all right, it's all on you now. And so that's definitely the positive that I would get from it. We stepped up and we, like it didn't crumble. Like a national championship is not the end all be all for everyone thinks for UConn it is, but like we went undefeated that whole entire year.
Hold on. Let's just make this very clear. Your whole sophomore year, regular season, didn't lose.
The whole year.
Get into the conference tournament, just run through that.
Yeah.
You get into March Madness and you win every game and are in the national championship game.
No, the semis.
Excuse me. Okay. And so I think, okay, now, I'm not trying to, open any sore wounds. And this was your sophomore year?
Mm-hmm.
And who did you lose to?
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. Okay. In the Final Four. I'm just thinking, just like the full circle, 2017. Actually, I have to do this. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm allowed to take it from here.
Are we cutting this part out or
keep it?
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's fine. Outside of like that whole experience, I mean, I would say like UConn is like a pro program, right? Like it's
for sure.
It might as well be like a professional sports franchise, right? Like, I always like to focus on like what prepares people for certain experiences. Is there anything from that experience that like prepared you for what the W was going to be like that you specifically remember? Besides the HBO experience.
I think one of the things about UConn is really like mentally you get pushed a lot, and you learn a lot about the game of basketball. So you really like at the next level, you understand a lot more things. Like I think in that sense, like I was really prepared of like what, plays, how to make reads, how to pick up on things, how to pick up on plays quickly. I think that's sometimes people really struggle with that. So I feel like learning that and like knowing how to adapt to situations, like at UConn, it's a very much it's a system, but you also like read and react, and it's very like play off of each other. And that's something at the next level that's really important.
Yeah. What about off the floor, right? Like aside from like being an athlete is a very regimented experience. It's an experience really based on routine. But how has that like impacted? How did like UConn impact how you see life? How did it impact how you see like the ambitions that you have for yourself beyond sports?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I struggled with that because, Storrs, Connecticut is a very small like town. Not much to do other than basketball. You're very focused.
They have a farm with a cow named Katie Lou. So
there is a cow named Katie Lou. But yeah, so like you're definitely focused, and that's definitely great for your basketball career. But it's a lot, and sometimes like basketball becomes the only thing that you're worried about, and that's where for me, especially after, I feel like I've even now like still struggle with sometimes of like finding what it is that like outside of basketball, because your life is just surrounded full day and night by basketball, and that's not always great for your mental health, is when you're only focusing on your performance or how something turns out, or if things are going well, if there's injuries, there's things that are just out of your control that you can't put all your happiness on the sport. And so I would say that I've grown a lot since then, and I feel like I was pretty naive and younger in terms of like truly embracing and thinking that like with basketball like basketball was going to be it, and I'm going to be happy because of it, because there's just so many things that are completely out of your control that, you know, you have to be able to learn and grow through as well.
Yeah, definitely. So Devin, you're back.
I'm back. And I'm back with
I think I know what he got.
I know you know what I got. Look at this. We're just talking about sophomore year Lou, and they know her by Lou. I never knew her by Lou. I called her Katie Lou. Now I call her Catherine Louise, and now I call her baby girl, and I call her my fiance. But this part right here is crazy. This is full circle. So 2017, you're a sophomore, haven't lost a game. I'm a sophomore, just cracked the starting lineup at Princeton. And I'm also in the NCAA tournament. This girl has a whole feature in Sports Illustrated. A whole feature. You are that person. You are her. And the crazy part is on the cover. And I found this like in my freaking garage like 2 years ago. You see her? She's right here. See her?
Yep.
See it? Yeah.
So where's this kid? He's probably tucked away. And then you see kid in the orange shooting the shot right there. That's me.
That's tough.
It's crazy. But my point, and this is just neither here nor there. My point is this. My sophomore year, we were on a 19-game winning streak, nowhere near 111. And I'm playing against Notre Dame. This team, I wanted to go to Notre Dame. I grew up in South Bend. You know this. That actually was a point of contention when I met Geno and when I met your coaching staff and your people at UConn. You're from South Bend. Oh, ooh, you know, so it just is what it is. I can't, you know, I'm actually from Mishawaka. But, you know, my sophomore year, 3 seconds left. I'm shooting the game-winning shot against this team. And, you know, the weight of the world is just like in the balance. It's like I'm either a hero or, you know, the inverse happened. And I have like messages, you know, you lost me money, you know, I can't show my face back home. But like my whole point in saying that is you have this, you're saying this season has all this pressure. And each game is like, if we lose this game, we lose the streak instead of just being free and playing. And I kind of want to just create a parallel and just kind of talk about like what that kind of pressure one's own self can put on themselves after being the number 4 pick in the WNBA draft. And each season having to pick up the pieces and say, I've got to rebuild myself with a new team, a new coach, a new system, but I got to prove to everybody that I'm Katie Lou Samuelson with the Sports Illustrated feature. I'm Katie Lou Samuelson, modern day Gatorade Player of the Year. You know, who everyone knows. You are the face of women's basketball. I was in high school and I was like, we have Ben Simmons in our class. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year that year. But the best player in the class was you. Like hands down, like arguably like one of the best high school basketball players ever. Right. But now you're the number 4 pick. And, you know, talk us through really that first year and how that has been a building block positively and negatively to your WNBA career, and how your expectations versus reality, where you're at. And let's just be honest, because like you said, my career has gone completely, you know, there have been things in my career so far I would have never expected. I thought after going into my senior year, my mentality was I'm getting drafted. Right. And then I have my own set of circumstances I had to deal with. And since then, the journey has been this. And you're wearing it on your chest, you embody it, you know what I'm saying? Like in your own way. But I really want to hear how like this winning streak at UConn and that sophomore season specifically, where each game was like, we've got to win. Like we got to figure this out. Because if we lose, we have teams we have never played with that started this streak. Like, now let's turn internally, and this expectation. You created this history of I am the top dog.
Mhm.
And then just talk, like, let's really just dive into that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, clearly finishing college, finishing on a high. Also, the crazy thing about WNBA and women's basketball is like I played in the semifinal game. I don't know what specific date, but about 3 or 4 days later, I'm getting drafted. Like that's how quick the end of your senior year is. Like no time to like process that your college career is over. No time to like actually, get any of that done. I was literally on a plane to Connecticut and then on a drive to New York. Like it was insane. So I get drafted.
You healthy at the time?
No.
Let's be real. Like these are things like Kristen Williams.
Yeah.
She played in the Final Four of the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Go straight to so like these are things that people.
Yeah, it's real.
And so like let's just keep it a buck.
Yeah, my senior year, on my senior day, I actually hurt my back, and so kind of sat out a few games, and then the rest of the NCAA tournament, I actually played with a back brace, like a little like wrap around my back, in those last games, and then in the got drafted and kind of just like put that to the side. But my back was weak. Just when you mess up your back, it messes up a lot of things. Mess up your core, messes up how everything functions. So rookie year happens. I get drafted. Like going to Chicago was a very big shock. Also, was not expecting them to draft me. I hadn't talked to them before. So that was just like a lot happening quick. Fourth picking draft, like moving there in a few days. And I actually, like my back was okay, ups and downs, but I played in like my second game or something, like training camp went okay. Like I wouldn't say that I was playing as well as I wanted to play leading into that, but my second game of my career, I want to say it was the second game, I trip and I break my wrist, like on a non-basketball, like I tripped over someone that had fallen down, like it wasn't even in play. And instantly I knew my wrist was broken and I was like, this can't be real. So I finished out that half and finished the rest of the game without telling anyone about it. And then we got the x-rays. And after that, I was out like 6 weeks, whatever it is, to heal a bone, and kind of just never got back into a flow of like being in that rotation, being in the lineup. It was also a big shock for me because I feel like that whole year I was like trying to figure out what, my role needed to be or what I needed to work on. And I'm from, playing with Coach Auriemma. Like he just tells you straight up, like, you're not good at this, you're good at that, done. Fix this or don't, it's up to you. Like that's just been my whole college career. Like, so I feel like I was always trying to like find, like what's going on? Like, what am I trying to do? And I feel like it was just never, like I would have been content with being someone just straight up being like, all right, you're not good enough this year. Like work hard and like figure it out. But it was always like, no, you're doing the right things. Like, no, just keep doing this. Like, and it's like, okay, I'm doing the right things. I don't play. So something's going on. Like, I'm not dumb. Like there's a reason. That's fine. But I would like to know what's going on so I can work on it. And, that year ends, my trade was pretty shocking. Got an accidental text message of the press release. And so then I'm on my way to Dallas, like, oh, okay. And,
I was there.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. You were there when that happened.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah. So that was big, shocking for me. Was actually in Chicago at the time, was about to like go do some stuff for the team and then traded on to the next one. It's like, that's the business of it clearly, but it's really hard as a player to like deal with those things. And like, clearly I didn't have a great year. So you're like, oh, clearly like, they don't want me. That's the next thing. I go to Dallas. It's the bubble season. I would say that season was like decent. That season was hard on its own. Like no matter what, like that bubble was a lot to deal with. As you played in a bubble. Like it's mentally just exhausting. You have no outside. You only have your teammates and your coaching staff. You have no family, no friends, no outlet. Like you're just there playing basically every single day.
Yeah.
And then again, get traded to Seattle. And that was good for me. I was excited about Seattle. I feel like I had a great year for me. Like, mind you, this is my third team in 3 years. So you're learning a new system every single year, like trying to figure out how you're going to fit in, what your role is. And had that year with Seattle. Felt like it was great, and then you end up, things happen where you're ending up on another team in LA. And here I'm in LA now. I feel like I had a really good season. For me, it was tough for us as a team. But I'm at home. I love being here in LA, and we're going from here. But yeah, it's this professional journey has been a lot different from what I expected. I played at one school for 4 years, played at another school for 4 years. I'm expecting to go in the WNBA, play on one team, be there for my whole career. Like that just was like what I thought.
Everybody.
Yeah.
The
here I am. Yeah.
I don't think people talk enough about like the whole trade experience. You kind of touched on it. We see like once in a while, if there's a camera crew around, we'll see when an athlete like receives that news, but nobody ever really like talks about it.
Yeah.
It's hard. I can only imagine. There's a lot of logistics. I can only imagine. But how do you actually feel?
What's crazy is when I was waiting to get on this before I joined the Zoom, I was on Twitter, and the video of when D Rose got traded, he was doing an interview and he found out during the interview. It was just on my timeline. That's so crazy. I just watched it, and his agent's telling him, you're gonna go to the Knicks, and like he was like devastated in the video, and he was like really emotional. And it just happens, like they were filming it and they caught that, and like that's really real. Like your instant, I feel like for me too, my instant reaction every time is like just like high emotions, like, and like a feeling of like, is it me? Like, am I just not what they want or not good enough, like for what they're doing? And so you have to like fight that feeling and like combat, like knowing that, it is a business, like people are looking out for themselves and you also have to look out for yourself. But yeah, getting traded is a lot. And like I said, it's the whole thing about learning a new system, playing for new coaches. Like even now I've had two teams, like Seattle, we had a coaching change, and in LA we had a coaching change. Like that in itself is a lot, and trying to like navigate different coaching styles, what you expected to go into the season, how you were playing with people, and then you have a new coach that's different. Like that in itself is also a lot. So it's been a lot of constant change. Even this year with LA, we're going to have a new coach next season. So I'm going to control what I can control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
something like that.
I feel like even like the other like some of the even smaller things like add stress, like shit, like where am I gonna go find coffee? Like where's my breakfast spot? Like how and like LA is like a completely different experience with traffic, which probably better than I'll ever know. But yeah, like anything else like on the personal side that like just like causes a lot of stress that like somebody like myself or somebody who isn't in a league or isn't a professional athlete.
Yeah. Well, for us too, like we go spend, most people go spend like 8 months in another country. So not only are you like leaving your stuff where you were for that season, most likely expecting to come back if you are, like then you go to another country and then you find out while you're in another country that you're going to end up in a different state. So like each time my stuff has been in the state before, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to get it from point A to point B? Because I'm coming from this overseas season and I have to play in 2 days. Like I don't have time to go to Seattle to get my stuff out of my storage unit to then send to LA, because my season finishes on the 14th and I have a game with LA on the 17th. Like I need to be there for that game. So there's stuff that people don't even think about, that part of it. Like I had a storage unit in Seattle with all my stuff. I ended up, when we played Seattle in May, day before the game, I'm borrowing, Gabby Williams' car to put all my stuff from storage unit in boxes. And then she was like, I was lucky enough that she shipped out my boxes for me.
Mind you, the trade was you and Gabby Williams. Like God willing, you guys were friends, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
facts.
Hey, I know I'm in LA and you're in Seattle now, but can I borrow your car to grab my stuff? Like, that's like someone's ex-girlfriend just pulling up on them and the new girlfriend's like, here's your stuff. No, I'm just like trying to, like, this is real. Like let's make, like, put this, like, that should not happen. And first and foremost, like, these teams aren't saying, hey, we're going to help facilitate all of this. Like, you're moving to a new place. What's your storage unit? We're going to box everything up, ship it. Like, you're left stranded more or less. And so, like, this whole journey for the trades is one thing, but like, even the in-between parts, like, if we can break down all 4 years, like, let's really look at it for what it is, because that's how I look at my career. When I think about, okay, I'm going into year 4, my first year straight G League, like, I was finishing my degree at Princeton while I was playing basketball. Like, you witnessed, like, I played in Toronto Sunday afternoon, kids game at the Raptors Arena. We're flying from Canada to New York City. I land at 8. I take a train that night down to Princeton. I'm in class on Monday and then stay there all day, take a train back. I'm playing Tuesday. Like, that was my first year as a pro. People are getting called up, signing 2 ways. Granted, I was competing for those, but I was also getting a degree from freaking Princeton, right? Like, that's just what it was. So the challenges, the positives, the negatives, that was just the reality. Like, that's not normal. Like, no one does that. And then, COVID hits, right? When I felt like I should have got called up. I thought I should have been called to the NBA bubble, didn't get that. And so now it's like, damn, like, setback, right? Like, I feel like I should be doing this. Like, everyone else is looking like they're successful. Like, doesn't mean I'm not successful, right? And so next year was a bubble. I get called up, injury. I'm in Seattle with you now on your 3rd team, training, recovering, learning how to walk again, like, witnessing, like, going to your practices, practicing with you and your teammates. I threw a ball. You can tell that story. I want you to tell that story. Tell the story right now. I need to hear it.
Yeah. So Devin spent that summer that I was in Seattle with me, living in Seattle, and he's kind of just getting back, trying to do some more stuff. And
should not have playing basketball at that point, but I was.
Yeah, but he can't help himself, so he's like, "Oh, I want to come, like, be a practice player. I just want to, like, help you guys. Like, we're in the middle of season, so it's not like we're doing anything crazy, right?" And so we're in practice, and he tries to drive baseline. And this is when Carly was on the team too. So Carly, my sister, got picked up by Seattle at the end of the season. So I have Devin and Carly there. Like, that was a great time. Like,
that was tough.
Good times. Seattle was a great time. So they're playing together against us. They're, like, on the white team or whatever it is. And Devin's like, "Oh, Carly's like that. Like, Carly's in the opposite corner. Like, she's gonna get this 3." So he drives hard baseline and, like, whips this pass as hard as he can possibly throw to try to get it to Carly. And the first group, where the starters, were standing on the baseline, and Breanna Stewart is standing right under the basket.
Stewie.
And this ball hits the side of Stewie's head. I've never seen
with some velocity,
like, a pass just nail someone. And she wasn't expecting it. Like, she was watching the play, like, what people were doing on defense, just straight to the side of her head. And then Devin retired as a practice player after that.
I will never be a practice player.
That was his done. I mean, he never was a practice player with LA. Never again.
I'll let you do your thing at this point. Look, there was music playing. The gym had a good vibe going. We're getting up and down. Mind you, I didn't play an organized game after that until February 1st. This was like August. So I probably shouldn't have been on the court. But I drive.
Maybe a setback.
Yeah, that was probably the setback. That's what really did it to me. But there's music playing, whatever. It's good vibe. The defense needs to get 2 stops. They already had 1. So I'm dropping baseline. I'm like, they're not getting another stop. Like, I'm trying to really make you guys work. I try to make them a lot better. Like, I really did my best to just be a good practice player. They told me I was Ariel Atkins. I was shooting left-handed. I was really in this zone. And so I drive baseline. I see Carla. I'm like, ooh, shooter. She's knocking this down. I whip it like Michael Vick, like left hand, like boom, smacks her head. The music immediately boom, turns off. It's quiet. And
Silent.
I'm looking at Stewie like, if you want to punch me in my face, like I'm like, if you want to punch me in my face, just punch me. Like, because I'm about to get arrested by the governor of Washington. Like, and then Sue Bird comes out of nowhere, busts up laughing. She's like, is that 2 stops? So that was dope. That was dope. So there's good moment, right? Like these are dope times. But when we talk about like, you literally started that season with one coach, and then I think went to like Austria to compete for the 3-on-3 to qualify for the Olympics. Like these are these things that are just intertwined. It's not just trade, season, start to finish, ideal world, vacuum, just like, you know, whether it's an injury, which I don't really know necessarily if that's the case, but in this case, bubble year, COVID, like we all had to figure it out. It's just a weird time. Like you never actually played in Dallas. So you played for Dallas in a bubble.
Yeah. You
were on and out. But like, let's talk about that, because I think this was a crucial part as I'm, you know, now more involved and, you know, like I see the ins and outs of what's going on. Like, talk to me about just your mindset of, hey, I'm on a new team. I have a coach who basically was a big advocate for me in this trade. Who's his name? Dan Hughes. Dan Hughes. And then it's like, hey, you know, I think, what, did you play a game or two before you left?
Yeah, I think I played 2 games, maybe 3 games. Yeah, Seattle was a crazy year.
Let's dive into that because that is really a snowball effect to today.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
how about the mindset of that?
Yeah, so I played like 2 or 3 games. Had just come from Spain. So come to Spain, play in the first couple of games of the season, miss training camp, right? Like we won Spanish championship, feeling great. Go to Seattle.
Championship, it was up, you know.
So I'm in Seattle, like starting out great, like playing these couple games, and then I'm going to compete in Austria to try to qualify the USA 3-on-3 team for Tokyo. Like we had to go qualify in order to play in the Olympics. So it's me, Alicia Gray, Kelsey Plum, Stephanie Dolson. Like that's who we went to Austria with. That goes great. Like we qualify, everything's looking good. I come back. Even after that, it was like, you know, you just got to find your footing. Like there's a new coach. I found out that we had a new coach on Twitter while I was in Austria, actually. So it was like, whoa, this is a lot. And then coming back, you got to, you know, find your role again with a new situation. I feel like
it's easy. She says like it's easy. Like let's say that slow. You found out you had a new coach while you were in Austria qualifying for the Olympics. That's the title. Clip it.
Yeah, that's
like, don't say like, you got to find your footing. No, you do, but that should not happen, and it is happening. Like this is a very real thing. Okay, like it's not.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm upset. No,
I found that out, and then after that, I came back. You know, feeling good. We just qualified for the Olympics, and then just kind of go from there. I know it's not like, oh, find your footing, but that is kind of how it was at the time. Like, you know, same system. Like, feel confident running through. Like Sue's like, you know, the greatest ever. So, you know, as a player playing with her, you feel like, okay, I'm going to be put in a situation where I'm going to be successful. So feel like I'm figuring my way to try to, you know, find my role on that team, you know, be a contributor, fill in that spot in the 3 for Seattle. And then I feel like I'm playing well. And then we have the Olympic break. So the other thing about WNBA that people probably don't know is during the middle of our season for the Olympic year, they stop play, and the people who are competing in the Olympics go train with their respective countries, train for Tokyo. I, you know, went from our game in Seattle to Vegas to do training camp for the 3-on-3 team. And I'm playing we're having training camp. We do about 5 or 6 days straight. Devin's there during this, like with me during these practices. And then, so he leaves 2 days before we're supposed to go to Tokyo. I wake up the day before we're supposed to leave on the plane. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like my ears are like a little scratchy. And I tell my trainer and she's like, okay, like, is that your only symptom? I'm like, yeah, maybe a little bit of a sore throat, but that's it. They're like, okay, like, I think we're good to go. I get my rapid test back that I got back, not very rapid. It was like 5 hours later, but that I had tested positive for COVID on that one. So then there's a whole protocol of like finding out if it's a false positive, and instantly go to my room, take another rapid, take another PCR, waiting for the results. My PCR actually came back negative, but my second rapid test came back positive. So they're like, super weird. We got to do it again. Like there's no reason. But as I'm sitting there, I remember that test from the day before, I remember it. They barely touched my nose. Like I remember them barely touching my nose. So I was like, oh gosh, like this is going to be bad when they get the second result back. Because of course, after that, the next test, they're like all up in it, like touching your brain to make sure that you either have it or don't have it. And so I get the call that night and they're like, you have COVID, you're not going to be able to go to the Olympics. Like, do you, who have you been in contact with? Here's the doctor. They're going to tell you what to do. Here's your medicine. Sorry about it, kind of like, that's it. Like, I'm like on the floor, like crying, like called Devin, like devastated. Like this was the worst thing that could have happened. Like tested negative for 5 days in a row. And then the 6th day get COVID. Mind you, followed every protocol, was wearing masks at all times, like was never anywhere by myself, like was either with a teammate, with Devin, with the training staff. Like unless I was in my room by myself, I was never like alone. So no one else caught it. So it was just like super, super bad luck. Like like multiple people must have been exposed and I just unfortunately caught it. Like I'm vaccinated at that point, but I was, one of the few that caught it at that time. And like had to stay in Vegas, quarantine, end up getting to go home to LA for a little bit. And then, got to go back to Seattle and just go right back into season after that.
While we're sitting here in Huntington, like that was the craziest 4-day to like, honestly, 4 hours. Like when you text me, like I got a car accident, like you told me this and I was devastated. Like I was crying heavily, like sitting here thinking through, like, did I give you COVID? Like I must have had to give you COVID. Like this is my fault, because this should not be happening. You worked too fucking hard. You've made too many sacrifices up to this point for this to happen. Like this is not real. Like you're okay. Test again. It's false. You know what I'm saying? Like I was out of it. I was like, how can I be here for you? How can I tell you everything's going to be okay when you're supposed to be going to Tokyo and winning a gold medal? And the team ends up going, the team that she qualified with out in Austria, when she found out she had a new coach that she was going to come back to the States to play for. And, they signed a replacement player. This team was clearly going to dominate any team that they went up against. These are freaking Kelsey Plum is damn near MVP this year. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like these are some of the best basketball players on earth. Like they can go with 2 people at that point and win. It felt like, but at this point, like, you know what I'm saying? The team you qualify with, they sign a replacement player, cruise to gold, and you're sitting at home with a mask. We can't even hug you. I flew back to Huntington. We're all testing and we're like, the Olympics are on. Like it was a very bad time. Like,
yeah, no, that's one of the that was one of the craziest things. Like you just go through something, which is like with anyone that caught COVID at the time, or like that was a lot with the pandemic. Like these things happen. Like I just lost like the biggest accomplishment of my career so far, like was going to be like the biggest thing I've ever done. And you can't even like get a hug from anyone. Like that's crazy. you're just sitting there by yourself for 10 to 14 days. Like, that's so sad.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. I don't think, I think at times there's nothing to say because of how like grave an experience is or how like upsetting an experience is. And I think that that's like one of those times because there's really nothing you could say to someone to make them feel better. There's nothing you can do or say, no matter how close they are, right, to you. So yeah, I'm very sorry that even I know it's time has passed and I'm sure wounds heal, but I'm very sorry that that happened. So post Olympics, you're healed. You're back in Seattle. Things have
I
changed.
don't know if I was healed, but I was back in Seattle and I was playing.
Yeah.
Back, you're out of shape. You're hustling.
Out of shape.
And you're about to go on a road trip. And these cats, you got Boy, you got Stewie, you got Sue. They're out there winning the gold. They're supposed to be, reintegrated into the team. And like everything post-Olympic, like, I mean, we can touch briefly on this. Like, her sister had a wedding. She's like, I mean, I'm talking for you a little bit, but like you know what I'm saying? You can talk through just like you try to, you're going to do everything that you can to say, I'm gonna put my best foot forward. I'm not healthy. Like you were not healthy. You're post-COVID. Like you can't speak. You know what I'm saying? Like, which it was good for me because I'm a little gassy. So at night I was letting Rick, you probably even know, I'm letting you can't smell anything. But just talk through like so that season. Doesn't even know that. That was just.
I mean, we encourage everyone to be themselves here, so it's a safe space.
Oh gosh. Anyways, no, that end of that season was good. We won the Commissioner's Cup. That was really fun. But as a team, we kind of like we're trying to re-find our footing, and so we were having ups and downs as a team in general too. And then actually we go to playoffs. I had to somehow figure out how to fly to my sister's wedding and fly back. And that was a whole stress point as itself. But then we have that last game and we ended up losing in the playoffs. But like for me personally, I had a really good game. And I was really proud of like how I ended the season and how, going into that off season, like what I was going to do because I felt confident. Like I finally, felt like I played like myself as well at the end of the season. And so that's also why like this trade with LA, it wasn't necessarily like a blindside shocking thing, but it was like a lot of things just happened kind of quickly. And then next thing I knew, like the trade happened and it was hard for me, especially starting out this season to like even come to terms with it as I was in LA because we just talked about that Seattle season was like a lot for me, mentally. And I still feel like I played, my best I had played in the WNBA and like felt like maybe I had found a home. And so
it felt like home.
Yeah, it felt like home. It felt like it was the place to be. And, now like everything happens for a reason, this is hindsight after, but starting out with LA, it was really hard for me to like grasp the 4 teams in 4 years. Like I really was struggling with that. And like that being a part of my journey, but, playing this season out, still a lot of stuff like LA, we had a lot of stuff happen this season, but that's not here nor there. Like I felt good with how this season ended, like how this season went. Like I'm excited for the future with LA. So, we really,
That's a whole different podcast.
Yeah, it's a whole different one. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's been, different than what I expected, but that's, like what this podcast is about. Like you're where you are because of your own individual, circumstances. Like not one person has the same story. And that's what, makes us all unique and all grow into the people we are today.
Yeah, definitely. Very well said. Definitely kind of circles back to the very first question we asked.
Mm-hmm.
So we're here. Summer 2022 is coming to an end. What's next?
What's next? Well, next week, or actually in a couple of days, I'm going to Las Vegas to try out for the USA World Cup team. And they'll be competing in Australia at the end of this month. I'm excited to get back with USA basketball. I haven't done anything with USA since I got COVID. Just haven't had any camps or been there for this stuff. So I'm excited to be back in this, to be a part of USA basketball again. And for me, like, I know there's a lot of things that go into this World Cup team. Like, you have people in the playoffs that are going to be coming in and joining. This is something else for women's basketball that you have to navigate. You have playoffs going on while this team is being picked. So like next week, like 6 or 7 people might join at the end of the week. And then after that, who knows what's going to happen. But I'm excited to be there, be a part of it, and just go from there.
That's awesome. I think that's good. And to sum it up, I feel like, for people who may not know the ins and outs, and, they may see these things, but not really know, the feeling or the emotion, or just like really kind of just like the details behind it. It's like, you have to be flexible. You can't be rigid. If you're rigid, you will break. If your mindset is stuck in one way and like one situation, and something changes that is unexpected, an injury after scoring your career high in the NBA, 8th game in, looking like what's happening next. You can't be rigid. Like, you have to be flexible. You have to move with water and form into your situation. And I feel like for you, that's what you've had to do, and you've done it very well. I think the growth that I've witnessed from, the first time I met you to now, it's like, you're just witnessing this person just grow and maturity, and how you learn from experience to experience to experience. Obviously being there during I think your toughest time, like you said, biggest moment of your career, going to, qualifying and being on the team to go win a gold medal in less than 12 hours before the flight. Hey, you got to stay back. Like, how does one come back from that? And so I'm excited for you to go, be a part of Team USA again. I guess what the world wants to know is, will we see Katie Lou Samuelson don the 3-on-3 jersey in Paris 2024? Is that something you've thought about? I mean, where are we at with that?
Oh, for sure. I think, for me, like, that's the goal. I want to get back to that point. Like, I mean, like you said, like, I made the Olympic team. Like, I was going to the Olympics. That wasn't a question of if that was going to happen. Like, that was happening. And then, unforeseen circumstances, that could always happen again. But as of right now, like, I'm going to do everything in my power to be back in that position. I don't know who else is going to be playing, who else wants to play, but one thing's for sure is that I'm going to be trying to get back there. So that's really the end goal of this.
It's amazing. Beautiful story, beautiful person. I'm glad I get to share my life with you. You look beautiful in that shirt. We can all get to that website. No, I'm just being funny. You know me. This was dope. Malad, anything to conclude? I think got a good one here.
No, I just want to say thank you. Appreciate your time. The impact of it is unknown right now, but I know it's going to be greater than any of us imagined. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Glad to be the first guest.
Let's go. Cue the outro music.